Hello everyone, this is Jacopo, CEO of Dynamight Studios. Welcome to this new Dev Diary where I will try to explain to you who we are and what is Fractured. Before we begin, just a couple of words about me. As I've said, I'm the CEO of Dynamight Studios, but I'm also a game developer and also a gamer, an avid MMO gamer specifically. I think I've played most major MMOs and also several smaller MMOs that have come out in the last 15 years. And I can say that the one that has really changed my mind though has been Ultima Online, which I've played for many years, starting when I was a teenager. In fact, when I was 12 in 2001. And it's really the game that brought me here right now. And I can say that in many ways, Fractured is a game that tries to recapture these old school feelings, but packaging them in a modern shell with a modern UI, modern control, and up-to-date graphical presentation, and also many innovations in design. Before we move to the game, I also want to tell you something about Dynamight Studios. We are an indie team based in Milan, in Italy. Not long ago, the team actually used to be even smaller than it is now. We were 7-8 people, but we already doubled the size of the team to 15 thanks to the recent partnership we've started with game publisher Gamigo. Still, 15 people is a pretty small team to make such an ambitious MMORPG, but I guess we are pulling that off. So let's talk about Fractured. What is Fractured? Fractured, in a nutshell, is an isometric, dynamic, sandbox MMORPG. Now, what isometric means, I guess most of you know, it's because of the top-down camera angle, but also because of the control set that the game uses, which is very much reminiscent of classic action RPGs like the Diablo series or Path of Exile, for instance. Then, why is Fractured dynamic? That's very important. I would say that there are three ways in which Fractured is dynamic. One is combat. In the classic action RPG fashion, most of the abilities that you use, your attacks, including physical attacks and of course ranged projectiles, are skill shots. They are not targeted. So aiming and moving is actually a key part of combat in Fractured. You really cannot stand still when you fight. It's just a very, very bad idea. Moreover, the game features hundreds of different abilities that you can learn and dozens of status effects that can be applied on your character or you can apply on other characters. Of course, both in PvE and PvP, and that adds a tactical layer to the dynamism of the fight. Then I can say that Fractured is dynamic because of its player-driven economy. All the items that you can equip, all the consumable items that you can use are crafted by players from raw materials extracted from the world, either from resource nodes or from PvE combat. Now, all the marketplaces and banks in Fractured are local to the city they are built in, and resources are also very much localized in the world. Most of the resources can only be found in one specific monster encampment or one specific region in the world, or a specific biome in a specific continent in one of the planets. And what this means is that there is trading in the game is really a huge component. There's a lot of trading between cities, between different groups of players, prices going up and down, strife to control resources, flipping the market, and all of that. Fractured is really a game where if you want, you can be a merchant 24/7, really, and do nothing else but that. And also, Fractured is dynamic because of its dynamic in-game political landscape. Aside from a couple of starting NPC cities, all the cities in the game are player built and they are a core component of progression. Cities can be attacked, they can be raided, they can be conquered, they can band together to join nations. from one day to the other, the biggest nation in a continent could be destroyed by its opponent, and the political landscape could change completely. Personally, this type of political activity in the game is one of the things that I like the most about the game. Why is Fracture the sandbox game? Well, as stated before, because of the importance of crafting in the game. But other than that, it's because of the total freedom that you have in developing your character in Fractured. Not only the game is classless, so you're not bound, you don't choose a class when you create the game, but we have a pretty unique progression system that I'm going to detail later in this video. But also there are no restrictions in what you can do in terms of like crafting professions, in terms of where you can travel. There are no high-level zones that are locked off. New players can just go straight into the most dangerous areas of the world. Not a very good idea, but you can do that. So really, you have a total freedom of movement and of development for your character. And last but not least, talking about the sandbox elements, is definitely the fact that you might have guessed from the talk about player cities, Fractured is a social game. The social element is really, really important. It doesn't mean that you cannot play as a lone wolf. You know, you can go and get your house in a residential area outside of a city and just play by yourself. But the worlds are open, so you don't have instances. Fractured features large open worlds. There are no instances, and so you will interact with other players, other than, of course, for trading and because you are just a part of an economic and political system within the game that you cannot subtract yourself fully. Now, let's talk about the pillars of the design of Fractured and the issues that we try to solve when making the game. By issues, I mean some historical problems that MMORPGs have been facing. First of all, one big question for us was always, how do we put PvE and PvP players together in the same world? Many games, many MMOs have tried different solutions for that. Some others just decided to split servers. You have a PvE server and you have a PvP server, and that's it. We wanted to find a way to make Fractured a place where PvE and PvP players can coexist and interact, but without turning it into a gank box, as sandbox games are often defined. And what is the solution that we envisioned? Well, in Fractured you have 3 different planets inhabited by 3 different races. Arboreus, inhabited by the wild folk. Syndesia, inhabited by humans. And Tartaros, inhabited by the demons. Now, when you choose a race and therefore a planet, you're not only choosing different modifiers or a different look, you're also starting your experience in a place that looks and has completely different types of resources and geography, but also has a different rule set. That's the most important thing. So if you start playing on Arboreus with the wild folk, you will find yourself in a peaceful cooperative place, because these characters have a good alignment and they cannot commit criminal actions against each other. Also, the criminal action from external parties are extremely limited. So as a matter of fact, it's pretty much an entirely safe place where you will not be ganked and killed. On the total opposite side of the spectrum, there is Tartaros. Tartaros is inhabited by demons. Demons are evil. By default, they cannot be anything else than evil. There is no criminal system. There is full loot. It's a very, very hardcore experience for the most hardcore PvP players. If you're looking for something in between, then you can choose Syndesia, the human planet. You can be a criminal in there, so you can commit criminal actions, but there is a very strong criminal system that will punish you if you decide to take that route. Also, you can become a bounty hunter and hunt down the murderers and thieves and send them to jail. I mean, they actually get sent into a player-built jail and they have to pay bail to get out, or they have to do time. So, yeah, I mean, you can be a murderer on Syndesia, but be careful what you're getting into. Alright, so this was our solution regarding PvE and PvP. And now the last point, power gaps and grind. Grind has always been a play in MMORPGs. Not all of them, of course, but I would say most of them. Now, I guess you know why grind is so common in MMORPGs. It's because MMORPGs are very expensive to create, and it's very convenient for developers to have the players repeat the same content over and over again, so they have to make less content. Well, even though we are a small team, we are actually making a ton of content, and so we don't have to introduce grind. So how does the knowledge system work in practice? Well, first of all, there is character creation, in which you define the strengths and weaknesses of your character. Is your character always going to be better at fighting as a warrior with physical combat and being just a very silly character that can't really do magic or understand magic? Or will it be a powerful mage but absolutely inept with weapons? Or will it be something in between? You choose when you create your character. How does the character progress after creation? There are three elements. One is the most vertical, which is the talent tree. That makes your character slightly stronger, but not much stronger. It doesn't really create big power gaps between new players and experienced players. What it does, it allows you to fine-tune your build, and you can freely respec it anytime you rest in front of a fire in the game. Then there is acquiring abilities. Now, acquiring abilities is done by defeating monsters, unlocking their entries in the bestiary, and then you are able to actually learn the abilities that such monsters use. And of course, monsters are spread everywhere in the world, so it doesn't really make sense for you to stay for a very long time in the same region of the world. What it makes sense for you to do is move to an area, collect all the abilities you're interested in that area, gain knowledge points by unlocking bestiary entries, and then move to a different area of the world. So exploration is really incentivized in the game. And the last component of progression is equipment. Again, there are no big power gaps between more sophisticated forms of equipment and the basic ones you start with. Progressing is relatively fast, and then it's about choosing the type of gear that complements your character build the best way. So you may, and you likely will, have multiple sets of armor more suitable to the multiple character builds that you're going to create for your character. Alright, so this was Fractured in a nutshell. Now there is a lot more to say about the game and a lot for you to experience. So if you want to, go to fracturedonline.com, sign up and stay up to date with the newsletters, and follow our Discord channel and our social media, because the next testing phase is starting soon, and we have a ton of news that we're going to drop over the next few weeks. I can't wait to reveal them all, so stay tuned and enjoy your day. Cheers!